she was seen as invisible, just a cleaner, someone to sweep floors and fade into the background. But on that flight, a cruel millionaire decided to humiliate her in front of everyone, mocking her life, her worth, her very existence. What he never imagined was that the woman he ridiculed carried a secret powerful enough to shake his arrogance to the core. A secret that would flip the balance of power in the skies. Because sometimes the one you underestimate the most is the one destined to rise above you. Her name was Amina, a woman who had spent most of her life working quietly in the shadows. Every day she swept the halls of an airport where others rushed past her without a glance, treating her as though she were part of the furniture. She carried herself with dignity, though her uniform often invited whispers, stares, and assumptions. To many, she was just the cleaner, a role they believed defined her worth. Yet Amina's world was far bigger than anyone imagined. Behind her tired eyes lay years of training, dreams that had been silenced, and a skill that could command the skies. No one around her knew. No one cared to ask. But on that particular day, the stage was being set. A wealthy man would cross her path, armed with arrogance and prejudice, ready to turn her into the punchline of his cruel joke. What he didn't know was that Amina was not the woman he thought she was. And soon, the truth would come crashing into his carefully built world. The flight had begun like any other. Passengers shuffled down the aisle, business travelers clutching laptops, families juggling bags, and Amina quietly making her rounds, cleaning up what others left behind. To most, she was invisible. But to one man, she became a target. He was a millionaire, draped in expensive clothes, with a voice that demanded attention wherever he went. From the moment he spotted Amina, his smirk carried the weight of arrogance. He leaned back in his seat, making loud comments so others could hear. "A cleaner in my cabin? Imagine that." What's next? Letting her fly the plane? Laughter rippled from a few nearby passengers, their eyes darting toward her as though she were a spectacle, not a human being. Amina kept her head down, her hands steady. She had endured words like these for years, slicing insults masked as jokes, but the sting never dulled. Each word was a reminder of the walls society had built around her, walls meant to keep her in her place. The humiliation didn't end there. When turbulence shook the plane, the millionaire seized the moment. Standing, he raised his voice, pointing at Amina as though she were entertainment. "Hey, cleaner! Why don't you fly this plane if you think you're worth more than a mop? Do that, and maybe I'll marry you." Gasps and chuckles filled the cabin. To him, it was just another way to mock her existence, reduce her dreams to a punchline. Amina froze, not because of fear, but because every eye in the cabin now bore into her. Her heart pounded. Memories of her past training, the hours in simulators, the notebooks filled with calculations, all hidden behind the label of cleaner. None of these passengers knew. None of them believed she could be anything more, and yet, at that very moment, fate was preparing its own response. The plane jolted harder, alarms rang faintly from the cockpit, and whispers spread like wildfire. Something was wrong. The passengers who had laughed seconds before now wore tight expressions, gripping their armrests. The millionaire's face shifted from smug amusement to unease. He didn't know it, but the cruel game he had started would soon collide with a reality he never expected. Because when arrogance meets truth, the one underestimated always holds the greatest power. And as the plane rattled again, the question hung heavy in the air. What would happen if the only person capable of saving them was the very woman they had mocked? The cabin erupted into chaos. Oxygen masks dangled, overhead bins rattled, and the sharp scent of fear filled the air. Passengers clutched each other, their earlier laughter silenced by the reality that the plane was in danger. The millionaire, who had mocked Amina moments before, now sat frozen, his confidence crumbling into panic. The captain's strained voice came over the intercom, short, clipped, and heavy with tension. There was a problem in the cockpit, an emergency. They needed help. And for the first time, the crowd turned their eyes not to the uniformed crew, but to the woman they had ridiculed. Amina's chest tightened. This was the moment she had trained for, the moment she had buried under years of silence and dismissal. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to step forward. Yet she felt the weight of their stares, the disbelief etched into their faces. Could a cleaner possibly be the one to save them? The millionaire's voice cracked with desperation. He tried to mask it with arrogance, but fear betrayed him. She can't. She's just a cleaner, he shouted, clinging to the only power he knew, denial. But the turbulence roared louder than his words. Amina moved. Her steps were steady, each one defying every stereotype that had chained her. She walked toward the cockpit, the eyes of doubters burning into her back. Inside, the scene was worse than she imagined. Alarms flashing, pilots struggling. And then, with a calmness that came from years of unrecognized skill, she took her place. Her hands touched the controls, firm yet steady. In that instant, silence fell over the cabin. The woman they had mocked, dismissed, and humiliated was now their only hope. And as the engine screamed and the plane dipped, one truth became undeniable. The life of every passenger rested in the hands of the woman they had once called nothing. The landing was rough, but safe. The wheels struck the runway, jolting every passenger back into reality. Gasps of relief filled the cabin, but the silence that followed was heavier than any turbulence they had faced. Dozens of eyes turned toward Amina, not with mockery this time, but with awe and shame. The very woman they had dismissed as just a cleaner had carried them through the storm. The millionaire, once so loud, couldn't meet her gaze. His arrogance had been stripped bare, replaced by the quiet truth of his own prejudice. For Amina, there was no need for revenge, no need for cruel words in return. Her strength had spoken louder than any insult. Yet the wound remained, the knowledge that it took a life-or-death crisis for people to see her worth. Her story is not just about one flight, one moment, or one arrogant man. It is about the countless people judged not by their skills, their humanity, or their potential, but by the color of their skin, the job they hold, or the assumptions others choose to make. Amina's victory was powerful, but it also revealed an uncomfortable truth. Why must the world wait for extraordinary proof before offering ordinary respect? And so, the question lingers, not just for those on that plane, but for all of us watching. How many more Aminas must rise above humiliation, must prove their worth again and again, before dignity is given freely? Because true justice is not found in dramatic moments. It is found in the everyday choices to see, to listen, and to honor the humanity in each other.